Picture yourself at 67 years old. You just worked your last day after 40-plus years of showing up, doing your job, playing by the rules. You're finally retired. You wake up on your first Monday morning as a retired person, make some coffee, sit down at your kitchen table, and you log into your bank account to see how much money you actually have to live on for the rest of your life. The number staring back at you is $1,915 per month, not $1,915 a week, not $1,915 every 2 weeks. $1,915 for the entire month. That's $23,000 a year to cover everything: housing, food, utilities, healthcare, car, insurance, entertainment, emergencies, everything. And you sit there thinking, how did this happen? I worked for 4 decades. I did everything I was supposed to do. I contributed to my 401k when I could. I thought I was preparing. How am I supposed to live on $23,000 a year? Here's the shocking part. That's not some worst-case scenario I'm making up to scare you. That's the actual median. Retirement income for Americans, according to the most recent data from the Social Security Administration and the Census Bureau. Half of all retirees are living on less than that. And before you think, well, those are people who didn't plan or didn't save, let me show you something that's going to make you extremely uncomfortable. Most of those people thought they were doing fine. They had jobs, they contributed to retirement accounts, they weren't reckless with money. They just made the same assumptions that most people watching this video are making right now. They assumed Social Security would be enough. They assumed their 401k would grow into something substantial. They assumed healthcare and retirement wouldn't be that expensive. They assumed wrong. And now they're 70 years old, trying to figure out how to survive on $1,900 a month while their friends are dying and their bodies are falling apart, and they can't afford to do any of the things they spent 40 years dreaming about. If you've ever wondered what the average person actually retires on, or if you're trying to figure out if you're on track or completely screwed, what I'm about to show you is going to either motivate you to change everything or confirm that you're heading toward the same fate as millions of other people who are currently eating cat food in their golden years. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about why the average American works for 40 years and ends up with barely enough money to survive in retirement, let alone enjoy it. If you're someone who's contributing to a 401k and hoping it'll be enough, or if you've ever wondered what retirement actually looks like for most people versus what financial advisors show you in their glossy brochures, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you understand the reality of retirement in America. Because what I'm about to break down isn't feel-good content about living your dreams in retirement. This is the actual math of what most people have, what they live on, and why the gap between expectations and reality is so devastating. We're going to look at real numbers, real sources, and real examples of what retirement income actually looks like for average Americans. And more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do differently if you want to avoid becoming another statistic. Let's start with the numbers that most people don't want to believe. According to the Social Security Administration, the average Social Security benefit in 2024 is $1,907 per month. That's $22,984 a year. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's just Social Security. People have other retirement savings too. And you'd be right to think that. Except here's where it gets depressing. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the median retirement account balance for people aged 65-74 is $200,000. Median, meaning half have less than that. Now, $200,000 sounds like a decent amount of money until you apply the 4% rule, which is the guideline that says you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement savings annually without running out of money over a 30-year retirement. 4% of $200,000 is $8,000 per year. That's $667 per month. Add that to the average Social Security benefit of $1,907, and you get a total retirement income of $2,574 per month, or about $30,888 per year. That's what the median American retiree is actually living on. Not the $80,000 or $100,000 that financial planning calculators show you. Not the comfortable retirement lifestyle that investment commercials depict. $30,888 a year. But here's where it gets even worse, and this is the part that absolutely kills me. That $200,000 median retirement balance includes people who actually saved. According to the National Institute on Retirement Security, nearly 40% of Americans have zero retirement savings. Zero. They're 100% dependent on Social Security, and about 21% have less than $10,000 saved. So when we're talking about the median retirement income, we're actually looking at a situation where a massive percentage of people are trying to survive entirely on Social Security, which is $1,907 a month, while dealing with healthcare costs that Medicare doesn't fully cover, housing costs that keep rising, and inflation that erodes their purchasing power every single year. Let me put this in perspective with a real budget. You're retired, living on $20,574 a month. Let's say you own your home outright because you were smart enough to pay off your mortgage before retiring. You still have property taxes, let's say $3,600 a year or $300 a month, homeowner's insurance, $150 a month, utilities including electric, water, gas, trash, $250 a month. You're already at $700 before you've eaten a single meal or put gas in your car. Medicare premiums for Part B and a supplement plan, about $350 a month. Prescription drugs, even with Part D coverage, $150 a month. Car insurance, $120. Gas and car maintenance, $150. Phone and internet, $100. Now you're at $1,570 a month on fixed costs. You have $1,004 left for the entire month to cover food, clothing, household items, entertainment, unexpected expenses, and everything else. That's $33 a day for literally everything else in your life. And this isn't a worst-case scenario. This is the median American retiree. Half of all retirees have less than this. Now you might be thinking, Mike, how does this happen? How do people work for 40 years and end up with so little? Great question. And the answer is going to make you rethink every financial decision you're making right now. There are 4 main reasons why retirement income is so shockingly low for most people. First, most people drastically underestimate how much they need to save. There's this rule of thumb that you need about 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain your lifestyle in retirement. If you were making $60,000 a year working, you'd need $48,000 a year in retirement. Sounds reasonable until you realize that Social Security is only going to replace about 40% of your income if you were an average earner. That means you need your retirement savings to generate the other 40%, which is $24,000 a year. Using the 4% rule, you'd need $600,000 saved to generate $24,000 annually. But the median person has $200,000, which only generates $8,000. They're $16,000 short every single year. Second, people start saving way too late. According to Vanguard's How America Saves report, the average person doesn't start seriously saving for retirement until their early 40s. And here's the math that kills you. If you start investing $500 a month at age 25 and continue until 65, earning 10% average annual returns, you'll have about $316 million. But if you wait until 40 to start investing that same $500 a month, you only have 25 years instead of 40, and you end up with about $660,000. You missed out on $2.5 million by waiting 15 years. The difference between starting in your 20s versus your 40s is literally the difference between retiring a multimillionaire and retiring on the edge of poverty. Third, lifestyle inflation destroys retirement savings. Here's what happens to most people. They get a raise, and instead of increasing their retirement contributions, they increase their spending. They get a $10,000 raise. Their take-home goes up by maybe $6,500 after taxes, and within 6 months, they've absorbed that entire increase into a nicer apartment, a newer car lease, more expensive habits. Their 401k contribution stays at 6% their entire career, while their lifestyle gets more and more expensive. So by the time they retire, they've trained themselves to live on 100% of their income, which means retirement on 40% of their income through Social Security feels like abject poverty. Fourth, and this is huge, people completely underestimate healthcare costs in retirement. The average couple retiring at 65 will spend about $315,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. according to Fidelity. That's $315,000 not covered by Medicare. We're talking about premiums for supplemental insurance, prescription drugs, dental care, vision care, hearing aids, long-term care. Most people think Medicare covers everything. It doesn't. Not even close. And that $315,000 has to come from somewhere, which means it's either coming from your retirement savings or it's not. Getting paid and you're just not getting the care you need. Here's the thing that frustrates me most about retirement planning. Most people are in complete denial about their situation until it's too late to fix it. They're in their 40s or 50s with $50,000 saved and they still think it'll work out somehow. They see the calculators showing they need $1.5 million to retire, and they just mentally check out because it seems impossible, so they don't even try. It's like seeing you're 100 pounds overweight, and instead of starting to exercise and eat better, you just avoid mirrors and buy bigger clothes. I know a guy named Tom. He's 62 years old, been working in manufacturing for 38 years, makes about $65,000 a year, has $78,000 in his 401k. And when I asked him about his retirement plan, he said, well, Social Security will be about $1,800 a month, and I'll pull some from my 401k, and we'll figure it out. My house will be paid off, so we won't have a mortgage. Let's do his math. Social Security gives him $1,800 a month. His $78,000 in retirement? Savings can safely provide maybe $260 a month using the 4% rule. That's $2,060 total monthly income. His wife is 60 and worked part-time most of her life, so her Social Security will be about $900 a month. Combined household retirement income, $2,160 per month. Their current expenses are about $4,200 a month even with the house paid off. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, food, cars, health care, it all adds up. So they're going to retire with a $1,240 monthly shortfall. Every single month, they'll need to pull an extra $1,240 from his 401k just to cover basic expenses. At that rate, his $78,000 will be gone in about 5 years. Then what? They'll be 67 and 65, living entirely on Social Security, trying to cover a $4,200 lifestyle with $2,700 in income. They'll have to sell the house or drastically downsize. They'll stop going to doctors because they can't afford the copays. They'll be eating the cheapest food possible and skipping medications. And here's what makes me want to scream. Tom thinks he's doing fine. He genuinely believes we'll figure it out is a retirement plan. He's 3 years away from retiring and he has no idea he's about to drive off a financial cliff. This is the psychology of denial. People know deep down they're not saving enough. They know they should be doing more. But acknowledging the problem feels overwhelming, so they just avoid thinking about it until they're 64, and it's too late to fix. Now let's flip this and talk about people who actually retire comfortably, because they exist, and there are specific things they do differently. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, about 15% of retirees have household incomes over $100,000 in retirement. These aren't trust fund babies or lottery winners. These are people who made different choices throughout their careers. First, they start saving early and they never stop. The average person in this group started contributing to retirement accounts in their 20s and maintained a savings rate of 15-20% throughout their entire career. They treated retirement saving like a non-negotiable bill, not something they'd do if there's money left over. When they got raises, they increased their retirement contributions before they increase their lifestyle spending. Second, they avoid lifestyle inflation like it's a disease. When they made $50,000, they lived on $42,000 and saved $8,000. When they got raises and made $80,000, they lived on $60,000 and saved $20,000. Their lifestyle improved, but not at the same rate as their income. By the time they retired, they'd trained themselves to live comfortably on 60-70% of their income, which meant transitioning to retirement income didn't feel like falling off a cliff. Third, they max out tax-advantaged accounts. They contributed enough to their 401k to get the full employer match, then maxed out Roth IRAs for themselves and their spouse, then went back and maxed out their 401k contributions. In 2024, that's $23,000 to a 401k plus $7,000 to a Roth IRA. If both spouses do this, that's $60,000 a year going into retirement accounts. Do that for 25 years with average market returns, and you're looking at $6+ million. Fourth, they paid off their house before retiring. This is huge. When you don't have a mortgage payment in retirement, your required monthly income drops by $1,000 to $2,000. That means you need $300,000 to $600,000 less in retirement savings to maintain the same lifestyle. The difference between retiring with a paid-off house versus a $1,500 mortgage payment is literally the difference between comfortable retirement and financial stress. And fifth, they planned for health care. They understood that Medicare isn't free and doesn't cover everything, so they budgeted $500, $800 per month for healthcare costs in retirement. They researched supplemental insurance, prescription drug plans, and long-term care insurance. They didn't just hope healthcare would be cheap. They planned for it to be expensive and saved accordingly. So let's talk about what you actually need to retire comfortably, not the median barely surviving retirement. And I'm going to give you real numbers based on different income levels so you can see where you need to be. If you're currently making $60,000 a year and you want to maintain a similar lifestyle in retirement, you need about $48,000 annually. Social Security will provide roughly $24,000 of that. You need your retirement savings to generate the other $24,000. Using the 4% rule, you need $600,000 saved. But honestly, I'd recommend more like $750,000 to $800,000 because the 4% rule assumes everything goes perfectly and life rarely cooperates. If you're making $80,000 a year, you need about $64,000 in retirement. Social Security provides maybe $28,000. You need savings to generate $36,000, which means you need about $900,000 to $1 million saved. If you're making $100,000, you need $80,000 in retirement. Social Security caps out around $35,000 for high earners. You need savings to generate $45,000, so you need $125 million to $1.3 million saved. These aren't scary numbers designed to make you panic. These are realistic targets based on actual retirement expenses. And here's the good news. They're achievable if you start early and stay consistent. If you're 25 and you invest $500 a month until 65 at 10% returns, you'll have about $316 million. If you're 35 and you invest $800 a month, you'll have about $2 million by 65. If you're 45 and you invest $500 a month, you'll have about $1.4 million by 65. The key is the earlier you start, the less you need to contribute monthly because compound interest does more of the work. But even if you're starting late, it's still possible. It just requires bigger contributions and more discipline. Look, the average retirement income in America is shockingly low. $2,574 a month for the median retiree. Half of all people who spent 40 years working end up trying to survive on less than $31,000 a year while dealing with rising healthcare costs, inflation, and all the unexpected expenses that come with aging. And the reason this happens isn't because people are stupid or lazy. It's because they make assumptions that turn out to be wrong. They assume Social Security will be enough. They assume their 401k will grow into something substantial, even though they're only contributing 6%. They assume healthcare won't be that expensive. They assume they have more time to catch up. You don't have to be part of that statistic. If you start saving 15-20% of your income in your 20s or 30s, if you avoid lifestyle inflation when you get raises, if you max out tax-advantaged accounts, if you pay off your house before retiring, and if you plan for healthcare costs, you can retire with $1 million or more and have an actual comfortable retirement instead of just surviving. So here's your assignment. Calculate what you actually need based on your current income. Then look at what you're currently saving and see if you're on track. If you're not, increase your 401k contribution by 2% right now. Not next month, not next year, today. Then, in 6 months, increase it by another 2%. Keep doing that until you're at 15-20%. Your future 67-year-old self is either going to thank you or curse you for the decisions you make today. If this video opened your eyes to retirement reality, hit that like button. If you want more honest breakdowns of personal finance, subscribe. Drop a comment and tell me what your retirement savings target is. I read everyone. I'm Mike, and I'll see you in the next one.